I'm not afraid to take a stand, take a stand. Everybody, come take my hand, come take my hand. We'll walk this road together through the storm, whatever weather, cold or warm. Just letting you know that you're not alone. Holler if you feel like you've been down the same road.
The Bible has this really interesting story about a guy called Jonah who God called to speak to a nation that his own people, Israel, were enemies with. This nation was the nation of the Assyrians, and millions of them lived in a massive city for the time called Nineveh. Instead of Jonah obeying God the first time and going where he was asked, Jonah jumps on a ship and tries to go as far away as he could. But as the story goes, God was having none of it, and after a huge storm and being vomited up onto dry land after spending 3 days in the belly of a large fish, he decides that going against God is not worth it, and he goes to Nineveh. The thing that is fascinating about this story is the reason why Jonah did not want to go to the Assyrians and speak to them. It's not because he was afraid of them, although he might have been a little afraid of them. It is because he knew that by speaking to them, they would repent and God would forgive them instead of wiping them out in a storm of hail and fire. Jonah was afraid that he would succeed. Can you believe it? Finding the book of Jonah in the Bible is a little like driving through smaller towns in southern Ontario. Blink and you won't be able to see them. It's a little book in the Old Testament that I think you should read to get the full gist of the story of Jonah. It's a fascinating story. Now, Abraham Maslow, an American psychologist, and his friend Frank Manuel coined the phrase the Jonah Complex to describe the fear of success. The fear of one's greatness, the evasion of one's destiny, or the avoidance of exercising one's talents. In the story of Jonah, there is a particularly revealing conversation that he has with God that shows his fear of success. It happens right after he goes to Nineveh and the people turn to God in repentance and God does not destroy them. You see, Jonah achieved success. He was used by God to turn the hearts of a king and his nation to God, but Jonah did not really want to succeed in this mission. Instead, he was hoping for a front seat to the sequel of Sodom and Gomorrah, and he got so mad with God because instead of spectacular destruction, God flipped the script and showed mercy. Listen to this from the beginning of the 4th chapter of the book of Jonah. Jonah was furious. He lost his temper and yelled at God. God, I knew it. When I was back home, I knew this was going to happen. That's why I ran off to Tarshish. I knew you were sheer grace and mercy, not easily angered, rich in love, and ready at the drop of a hat to turn your plans of punishment into a program for forgiveness. So God, if you won't kill them, kill me. I'm better off dead. God said, what do you have to be angry about? But Jonah just left. He went out of the city to the east and sat down in a sulk. As believers in God, we accept many truths about ourselves, don't we? One of them being that God has a plan for each one of us, a path designed for us to succeed in the mission that He has for our life, a mission that is for our good and one that ultimately brings Him glory. Success for us is not always monetary or material. Sometimes success in our life's mission comes at great cost to us, but it is always for our good and it is always for God's glory. But more often than not, we keep away from this journey just like Jonah did because we are afraid of the ultimate outcome. It is a weird thing to say, but we are afraid of success. Sometimes the success of our personal mission does not bring us the recognition that we deserve. In fact, for the great majority of us, we will never be acknowledged for the many successful things that we do. And so we stay away from them, preferring instead to chase ventures and paths that will bring us personal recognition. And if we're being completely honest here, the majority of us want only a certain kind of personal recognition, the kind that elevates us to celebrity status. And yet for some of us, success is going to give us a different kind of personal recognition. For some of us, the path, the mission, the journey that God has prepared for us, the one that we have been avoiding, is going to make us a target. It is going to make our superiors perceive us as a threat. It is going to precipitate enmity and jealousy between you and the people that you care for. It is going to put you directly in harm's way or require that you leave your comfort zone and uproot your life and perhaps the life of your family if you have one. Like I said before, success does not always bring monetary or material gain. In fact, for the vast majority of what we do, success has nothing to do with us and everything to do with somebody else. Success that has to do with somebody else is usually costly, and it is this enormous cost that is partly behind our fear of success. You see, with every story that we tell of people succeeding against tremendous odds, whether it be monetary success or just the kind of success that leads to the emancipation of another person, we always miss another parallel story. There are people that had similar opportunities to make a difference to the world or in the communities in which they were placed that held back because of the fear of success. Now, the fear of success is very interesting because it is a multifaceted fear and not a singular fear like most of our other fears. The fear of success could be broken down like this: the fear of the journey and its cost, just as we said, the fear of failing to succeed, the fear of condemnation after failure, the fear of the peanut gallery, and finally, the fear of notoriety. The truth of the matter is that in order for success to happen, you have to embark on a journey, and most of the time, it is not an easy or cheap journey. It is a tough and costly journey. In order for success to happen, you have to experience failure multiple times, and unfortunately, the knowledge of the condemnation and disappointment that happens when you fail or experience setbacks is paralyzing to most people, and so they never set out on the journey to success in the first place. In order for success to happen, you also have to face your haters. You know, the peanut gallery in your life, heckling you and telling you that you will never succeed in your intended goal. And the most disheartening thing about this is that the people that hold you back in this manner are not usually hostile strangers, but friends and family that you thought would encourage you and support you. And finally, with success comes notoriety. And like we've mentioned, this notoriety is not always positive. So what does this have to do with anything? What is the application? This whole month at Pivot 613, we've been talking about the no fear zone. We started out by talking about the No Fear Church. Following our discussion about the No Fear Church, we had the weekend where I asked you who were present to be my No Fear community. And last week, we talked about no fear relationships. All of this has been building to this afternoon in which we talk about being free of the fear of success. I believe that God has placed dreams and visions into each one of you here today and into the many people that will watch this message. Not every dream will lead to a faster car or a bigger house. Oh no. Not every dream is going to affect the global economy or end human trafficking overnight. But no matter how large or small the dream is, I believe one thing for sure. You are going to have to overcome fear in order to reach for it. You see, the ultimate no-fear zone is not just a no-fear church that risks everything for Christ. It is not just a no-fear community where people are unafraid to let their guard down. It is not even just a place where no-fear relationships where people are no longer afraid of being left out or being alone. The ultimate no-fear zone is where dreaming impossible God-given dreams and pursuing them without hindrance is possible. Everything about your world wants you to fear your success. Did you know that? It's going to be too hard to get there. You're not going to succeed. What will other people think of you? Do you know how dangerous that will be for you? I'm pretty sure you do not want to be seen associating with those kinds of people, do you? Who do you think you are to think that you can make a difference? You're a nobody from nothing and you'll never do anybody any good. Yet, in spite of everything around you that conspires you to make you fear your success, God in His mercy has sent Jesus to us to speak a different narrative into our lives. Your value is immeasurable if the King of the ages would step out of eternity and extravagantly lavish love on you. You do not have to be distracted by what others will think or what will come your way, because the one who really matters, the one who put those dreams and that purpose in you, is calling it out of you. You can make a difference wherever you are, not just for the posterity of your legacy, but because you are responding to the love of Christ, calling out to you and inspiring you to acts of love for others. You see, if your measure of success has nothing to do with anybody but yourself, it can become an unhealthy driving force that drives you to reckless ambition or scares you away from doing anything meaningful in your life. If, however, success in your life becomes about something bigger than yourself, possibly something inspired by the love of Christ and by the glory of God, then the ugliness of sin or the paralysis of fear is obliterated. This is why at Pivot we continuously quote the Bible when we say, Christ's perfect love casts out all fear. You see, right here, right now, where you are, there is a nudge in your heart to change something in the world around you. I don't care how old you are or how young you are, the nudge is there. It is what makes us human. It is God's creative and life-giving potential looking for an outlet in us. It could be a small thing in your family or a really big community-changing thing, but it is there. My job today is to remind you of it and to call you back to it. The real indicator of whether we have lives, families, or communities permeated by fear is whether or not people are allowed to dream and to chase their dreams. You see, for most of us, I don't think that the fear that we have is that we're inadequate or ill-equipped for the job. I think the fear is that, Marianne Williamson says it better than I could in her awesome poem titled Our Deepest Fear. Let's check it out for a minute because she says it better than I do.
Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us the most. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that others won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine, as children do. We are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us all. It is not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
So in light of all of this, I think that there are a few things we need to ponder as we wrestle our multifaceted fear of success to the ground. The first is this. For each one of us, success is going to mean different things. Even at different stages of life, success looks different. How do we get our minds and hearts out of the place of thinking of success in material and monetary terms? The second question is this. If the ultimate no-fear zone is a place in which people can dream and pursue their God-given dreams without fear, what needs to happen at this church to make this a reality? Is this just an idealistic dream, or is it one that we can achieve at Pivot? The third is this. What is the one thing that you have seen keep people away from pursuing their dreams? How do you see the fear of success manifest itself in individuals and organizations around you? And then here's the final question that I'd like us to discuss. What is one step that you can take today away from fear and towards the inspiration that flows from Christ's love?